Lesson 8.2, Sequences and Equations. So you guys have worked with sequences before. You've done that since you were in elementary school, because a sequence is just a list of numbers. And sometimes that list of numbers has a pattern and you can figure out what numbers are next in the list. Well, that's really not what we're doing. We're going to go one step further and make it more algebraic by taking a sequence, a list of numbers, and writing an equation from that list to figure out what number might come next, what number might come 10 later, without having to do all the numbers in between. So here's some vocabulary. We already said what a sequence is, but it's important to know that a term is any number in the list, and we're going to number those terms when we get started. The next word is arithmetic sequence. Now it looks like arithmetic, which it is pronounced that way, but when you add sequence with it, it's arithmetic sequence. It's a list in which you add the same amount from one term to the next. Like the example that's there, 7, 10, 13, 16, ... Between every term, they added 3. So that is definitely an arithmetic sequence because you're adding the same amount between the terms. The common difference is the amount that is added in an arithmetic sequence. It's kind of an ironic name because you know you're adding the same amount, but it's called common difference. So that's kind of strange or kind of ironic that it would be called a difference, but that's what it's called. And it's going to be important that you know the common difference in each set. So let's look at some examples, and it's going to be really, really important that you write these down so that you know what to do with them. I think once you get the hang of it, you'll realize it's pretty neat how it works. So the first example has the list 15, 16, 17, and 18. And we need to write an equation to be able to find the next term without obviously just using what we're adding on each time. So here's what you're going to do. First thing that you do is you look at the list and you decide what it takes to get from the first term to the second term by adding. That's called the common difference. So 15 plus what, Cece? Plus 1. And just make sure and double check that it's the same so we know it's the right kind of sequence. So from 16 to 17, still plus 1, and 17 to 18, still plus 1. So our common difference is 1. Once you get the common difference, you can start on your equation. That common difference is the number that you write in front of n. N is the term number. So I'm going to take my 15, 16, 17, 18, and I'm going to number them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be really important that you number them every time. I know that seems really strange because it's always going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's going to help you figure out the problem. Okay, so we want to be able to figure out T if we know what N it is, what number of term it is. So let's start with the first term where it's number 1. Right now, if we put 1 in place of n down here, it would be 1 times 1, which is what? 1. But our first term is 15. So how can we get from 1 to 15? What would we have to add or subtract? 14. So plus 14. So 1n plus 14. And after you get that, you double check that you're right. So you look at the second term. So 1 times 2 is 2 plus 14. Is that 16? Yeah. And you can check the third one if you want. 1 times 3 is 3 plus 14. Is that 17? Yeah. So the equation for that sequence is t equals 1n plus 14, or you could actually say t equals n plus 14. So n, whatever number term it is, if you add 14 to it, that's the number in that list. Okay, we're going to go to another one over here on the right. The terms are 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go ahead and number them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's do the common difference. To get from 3 to 4, Layla,
1.
plus 1. And just double check the rest of them so we know it's the right kind of sequence. 4 to 5, 1, and 5 to 6. So my common difference is 1 again. These aren't quite as exciting as the next ones. Those might show you a little bit more about what we're talking about here. So since my common difference is 1, your equation t equals, you put 1 times n. Then you go up here and you go to the first term. 1 times 1, again, is 1, but we need to be at 3. What would you add or subtract, Layla?
3 minus 1.
Well, plus 2. Then you test the second term. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 2, that gets us to 4. Practice and test the third term. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So our equation for this list is t equals n plus 2. If you wrote 1n plus 2, we'd count it. Okay, let's do one that's a little more exciting than the ones. Let's go to this one down here, okay? My list is 6, 16, 26, and 36. Let's number the terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look and find the common difference from 6 to 16. What is it?
10.
Plus 10. And then double check the rest of them are the same. 16 to 26?
Plus 10.
Plus 10. 26 to 36?
Plus 10.
Plus 10. So my common difference is 10. So my equation then goes t equals 10 times n. All right, you look at term 1. Term 1, n is 1. So 10 times 1 is 10. Where do I need to be for my first term? What is it? 6. How do you go from 10 down to 6? Minus 4. So I think the equation is 10n minus 4. Test it with the second one. 10 times 2 is 20. 20 minus 4 made it to 16. Go ahead and check the third one so you guys can see what we're doing here. 10 times 3 is 30. Minus 4 gets us to 26. Yep. So the equation for that list is 10n minus 4, or t equals. So t is the term, n is the number of the term. All right, let's look at the one over here on the right. 7, 9, 11, and 13. I'm going to number them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's find the common difference. From 7 to 9, how much is it?
Plus 2.
Plus 2. What about 9 to 11? Same, and 11 to 13. So our common difference is 2. So I can start my equation. T equals 2 times n. Yeah? You know what it is?
Plus 5.
plus 5, she says. Is she right? So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 5 is 7. Yep. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 5 is 9. Now, isn't that kind of neat how that works? You find that common difference, that number goes in front of n. You figure it out from the very first term, what you have to add or subtract to get to it, and you've got the equation for the whole list. This one over here on the right, I just wanted to make sure you saw one like this. If the list was 10, 20, 30, 40, and the common difference would be plus 10 all the way through, then you know you would go t equals 10n. Well, when you go to the first one right here and you put 1 in there, you get 10. And when you put 2 in for n, 10 times 2, you get 20. So you don't add anything on the end of that if that happens. It's just t equals 10n. And you might have some like that where you don't add or subtract anything. Okay? That can happen. Do you understand the difference between that one and what we did on the other ones? Like you have the number once you plug in the n. Okay, so what is the point of finding the equations other than something like this? Find the equation of this sequence and then the 20th term. Do you see how it might take a long time without an equation to sit there and keep adding on that amount till you get to the 20th number? You don't have to do that anymore. You can use this, find the equation, and then plug in 20 for n. That'll give you the number or for the 20th term. So let's try this on 7, 10, 13, and 16. So let's number 1, 2, 3, 4. Common difference, yep, it's plus 3. Okay, so t equals 3n. Trayton, what's the rest of the equation? Plus 4, because if I put 3 times 1 in, that's 3, plus 4 is 7. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10. So he's right. T equals 3n plus 4. Now, we have to find the 20th term. What do I plug 20 in for in that equation, Trayton? So t equals 3 times 20 plus 4. What's 60 plus 4? Our 20th term is 64. Now, isn't that a lot quicker than adding on 3 all those times? It'll even be better on this next one. Look, it wants us to find the 89th term. The 89th term. So let's do this. The terms are 1, 5, 9, and 13. So you number the terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see how that's important? It seemed kind of silly at the beginning, but it's important to find that equation. Go ahead and number them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you find your common difference. 1 to 5 is how much?
4.
Yeah, 4. And it's 4 all the way through. So our common difference is 4. So t equals 4n. Can anybody tell me what we add or subtract at the end? Minus 3, he says. So 4 times 1 is 4. Minus 3. Well, that's not drawing in for some reason. How's that? That's better, but it still doesn't look what. Okay. Minus 3 equals 1. 4 times 2 is 8. Minus 3 is 5. And 4 times 3 is 12. Minus 3 is 9. So to find the 89th term, what are we going to do? 4 times 89 minus 3. What's 4 times 89? Anybody do that yet? 356 minus 3. So my 89th term is 353.